Hey guys, Gaming Off the Grid here. Sony. It did not have to be like this. The PlayStation Classic has arrived and it has disappointed a lot of people. From poor emulation to too high of a price tag and not good enough games. Today we're going to talk about the top 5 games that if Sony had added to the PlayStation Classic, they could have really changed the narrative.
And today we're also drinking an Imperial Stout that's been inspired by Mexican hot chocolate. Yep, today we're drinking Stone Xocoveza. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, ring that bell icon so you never miss an upload. And sit back, relax, pour yourself a beer if you care to, and enjoy this episode of Gaming Off the Grid.
Alright, here we go. We're going to cut right to the chase. Despite all the mishaps with the PlayStation Classic, we think it's pretty simple. It's all about the games. It's always about the games. We're going to talk about the top 5 games we feel could have drastically changed the PlayStation Classic.
Let's just jump right into it with our number 5 pick, Gran Turismo 2.
It's very perplexing how a Gran Turismo game didn't make it on here and Ridge Racer Type 4 did. I don't understand. I know there's got to be licensing issues with the cars, so on and so forth, but you know what? Figure it out. They're charging $100 for this thing. It's the most expensive plug and play that's been released yet. Figure it out.
It'd be so sweet if this was on the collection. And now let's move on to our number 4 pick, one of my all-time favorite games for the PlayStation, Spyro.
Yeah, it's baffling. How Spyro didn't make it on here is just mind-boggling. There's 3 great games. I don't know about you, but I've been happy with either one of the 3.
And I know they just released the Spyro Reignited Trilogy for the PS4, so that's probably why they didn't put it on the collection. But still, Spyro is such a huge staple of this era, and it's like, man, I wish it was on here.
And of the platformers from this era, Spyro plays very well, and I think it'd be really cool to have the Reignited Trilogy out and have people get a chance to play the original.
It'd be so sweet.
I don't understand. I don't know how they didn't get one of those on here. The next one, when we announced this is one of our wish games, was Silent Hill.
Yes.
You know, Resident Evil's represented, but Silent Hill, no love, and that game was groundbreaking.
I know you were hoping this was on the collection so badly, and I mean, Resident Evil is sweet, but it gets so much love all the time, and like you said earlier, Silent Hill it needs more love.
Yeah, and it's from a time frame where Konami was just on fire. And I just loved, that's one of my favorite moments in gaming. Game after game after game, they were firing on all cylinders, and I love the first Silent Hill and the second Silent Hill, and I play them all the time still to this day.
Now let's move on to our number 2 pick, R-Type Delta. Here's the problem with the PlayStation Classic in my opinion. There's no shmups.
Yeah, it's very annoying. Now, the Japanese version, which if you were to pick this up, is the version to get because of the shmups and because of Parasite Eve. But anyway, back to R-Type Delta. There's a lot of reasons this should have been on here. 1, it is one of the best R-Type games, period. It's one of the best shmups of all time, easily in probably everybody's top 10. Number 2, it's really hard to get. You know, to get it a used copy nowadays is pretty tough, and it's really spendy. So it would have added so much value. You look at how the Super Nintendo Classic included a couple nuggets on there that were like a collector's dream. You could buy the whole Super Nintendo Classic for less than you can buy a copy of Earthbound.
And there's also Star Fox 2, which was never released, so that's really sweet.
I know we're doing a top 5 here, but literally had R-Type Delta been on here, this would have been a no-brainer.
Yeah.
This would have been a no-brainer to purchase. And then last but not least, the number 1 game that could have really shifted the narrative of the PlayStation Classic. I'm going to let you take it because it's one of your all-time favorites.
Yes, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I've talked about this game so many times in so many different episodes. It's so beautiful. It's such a sweet platformer. And I know they just released Castlevania Requiem for the PS4, which includes this and Rondo of Blood. But why this game isn't on the collection doesn't make any sense.
It's arguably the best game on the PlayStation, and that is frustrating. You know, they have Metal Gear Solid on here, which is also in that conversation. And I love the Metal Gear series, my favorite series of all time, but there's no doubt in my mind that the Castlevania Symphony of the Night game has aged better. It plays so well, it casts the PlayStation in such a beautiful light, and again, much like the Spyro Reignited Trilogy, why does it hurt you to have the game out in 2 different avenues? The part that frustrates me is I know a lot of this boils down to licensing. You know what? Figure it out. Don't just mail it in, and if you can't get it right, don't do it at all.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, a lot of these games are on the PlayStation Store, and I don't know a lot about the illegal mumbo jumbo. But if they're on the PlayStation Store, there's some licensing that has already been obtained. This, and I think most consumers would agree, I'd rather have a $149.99 price point on there, have 25 or 30 games, and have literally every Crash game, Spyro game, like the true classics. Don't call it the PlayStation Classics. Like, call it like the PlayStation half-assed pile of dog shit if you're going to release it with games that are half-baked. I don't understand. We don't even have one. We're doing this episode, and we don't even have one. B-roll footage. You're not going to see a PlayStation Classic because we canceled our pre-order.
Yeah, I know we talked about we were excited and we pre-ordered it, but then the more we thought about it and the more we analyzed it, it's like, man, it's not worth it. And we really want to get the Japanese version. We talked about that before because of all the shmups, and that one's just overall better. So I recommend not getting the US version and getting the Japanese version. It is going to be a little bit more expensive because it is from over the pond, but the US version just is disappointing.
It is, and you know, I hate to pile on Sony because they have been such a good company for so long. I'm a huge PlayStation fan, as are you. You know, clearly here representing, and I've spent so much of my hard-earned money on Sony products, and I'm just stunned. I am absolutely stunned that they mailed it in on this project.
I think we should move on to a topic that isn't as aggravating, so let's talk about this beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think of the Stone Xocoveza?
Well, it's one of my favorite beers that comes out during the holiday season. I've enjoyed it year after year after year. It's a very limited release. It's getting less and less hard to find, but it is a very narrow window that it comes out. So if you see it, you need to get your hands on it and buy up on it because it is not available for a very long period of time. Stone Brewery is a fantastic brewery. I don't know if they're probably more known for their IPAs, I would say.
Yeah.
But this is a very unique stout. I have not had another spice stout that resembles it in any way. The other part about it that I like is every single year, it's a little bit different. The whole project started out with a collaboration with a home brewer that won a contest, and they collaborated with that home brewer to make this beer.
That is so cool that a huge company would do that.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
way
sweet.
cool, and it was so good, and it did so well that it has become a yearly staple. This year it was out in cans. I've always got it in bottles before, but it turned out very well.
Yeah, it still tastes very good, and it's so smooth, and it has that hot chocolate feeling, but it's a stout. It like kind of warms you up even though it's cold. It's just really good.
And on the back end, you get that spice that rolls over your tongue. A little bit of the peppers, the cinnamon coming through. It's a very hard thing to explain, but it is absolutely delicious. And it is one of the finest stouts that you can get.
So if you're out of the store and you see Stone Xocoveza on the shelf, pick it up because it is delicious.
Cheers to that. Such a fantastic beer.
So let's just wrap up our thoughts on this episode real quick. We believe that if these 5 games were on the PlayStation Classic, it would be worth it. It'd be worth the $100, and it would be an awesome collection. But sadly, it's not. Sony put out a half-assed project. It's disappointing, and it's so frustrating because we love Sony, and we love everything Sony does except for this. And what do you guys think? If these 5 games were on the collection, would you pick it up?
Alright, and a quick reminder, this episode still qualifies for the NES Classic Giveaway that we're doing for the holidays. Why? Because we're feeling gracious and we love your support. So make sure to enter that contest, you subscribe to the channel, you like and leave a comment on any video uploaded between now and December 20th, and follow us on social media, and you could win the NES Classic.
It's that simple. And as always, thank you for your continuous support and subscribing to the channel. Keep gaming, keep drinking. We'll see you next time on Gaming Off the Grid.
Rocking around the Christmas tree, have a happy Hanukkah.
I don't think those words are correct.
I saw Mommy sharpen Santa's claws.
Sony, Sony, Sony! More like pony, pony, pony! The Pony PlayStation Classic.
Let me tell you something!